Wonderful. Well, hello there. As we're sitting here on June 6th, June 6th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show on Thursday afternoon. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1984. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access, which in itself is, let me just wanted to make sure. Yeah, that's good. And okay, yeah. So I'm just pretty much want to do this, and then of course talk to you about many things that I have on my mind, and in addition to that, continue to talk to you about many things that I have on my mind, and in addition to that, to continue to decipher the issues that are plenty. But in the same token, it's all a straightforward talk that comes from the heart of the artistic process that forces us to face the situation, i.e., reality, as it is established and as it unfolds constantly, and how it merges with the new with the old, and how we find ourselves actually I guess that should be okay. I'm gonna have a sip of my water, and then I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee. Surprisingly, it's a good coffee. So in a funny though interesting way, we find out quickly enough once we engage in the process of creating something, kind of bringing to life something out of nothing, for lack of better words, and being able to encounter a situation where all the information, all the details, and all the ingredients are due to your direct investment, direct attention, direct desire to cope and to commit and to understand and to enhance and to enlarge and to deepen and to devote and to donate and to show that face expression that is much needed in that process, and make it in an effortless fashion, and behave like everything is just a part of the equation. So I was like, for example, talking to a friend of mine about the meaning of keeping a straight face through the process. Almost like steady as she goes, this huge shape that goes into a destiny unknown, even though there's an incredible degree and amount of confidence that it will arrive at its destination, but still it's called the unknown, because the unpredictable factor can always explode into becoming and just catch everyone by surprise. So keeping a straight face through the process that was the topic of my conversation with my friends the other day. So it was one of those moments where you say, acting skills. I had to encounter what the reality of acting is all about by self-imposing certain scenarios that I wanted to implement in my studio, because mainly of my lack of ability to deliver the goods in my medium, i.e., the particular medium of painting. And sometimes I knew what I needed to do. I knew what I needed to create. I understood what the vision is. I saw it clearly, but I lacked the technical ability to adapt and to actually execute it from the thought through action into matter, into results. So I realized, that it's better for me to struggle in a way to create an artificial ability to act it out, to pretend, and I thought that was like magical to confront that moment of engagement and the long pause that follows it, and just believing that it did not hit a dead end, and even a dead end is not a dead end, and there's always like a magical loop that brings us right back to where we picked up early on, and feel this guarantee of repetition that gives us a sense of that we can rely on Mother Nature and rely on the timing, and it's like the season changing, season changes of another layer of understanding, and that would be something that we privately and intimately face and challenge and be challenged by, create, or completely otherwise. So I was talking to her about keeping a straight face through the process, because there's this, people say, that it's easier when you're alone to make a fool of yourself, so there's no one there to kind of point a finger at you and tell you that maybe you're losing it, and maybe something is needed to be done about it, and most of which wouldn't be something you would like. I was, oh my God. I always saw myself early on, maybe 20, 25 years ago, with an incredible amount of enthusiasm, trying to convince the world that I stumbled onto something. Now, hear me out. I never approached anyone and saying, I discovered something that I would like to be able to share with you, if only for the main reason that I would like you, and I would like to spare you from wasting a lot of energy and a lot of time to get to where you need to get as an artist, and that otherwise it would be an impossibility. So I got the way for you to bypass so many energy draining factors and implement, or maybe correction, and allow Mother Nature, allow the instinctive aspiration that's hanging on in midair to perform, and teach you how not to feel guilty not for the wrong reasons and not for the right reasons, and then also maybe help you understanding faster and better what is the concept of focus. What does it mean to be focused? What is the benefit of focusing when sometimes you feel like you need to do exactly the opposite in order to support the state of mind that you're at that particular moment? It's a yes and no, it's a no and yes, and it's a yes and yes, and it's a no and no. It's everything altogether. So quickly enough, you realize also which questions to ask and which questions to not to ask and which questions to ignore and avoid completely, which in itself is like finding a treasure. So yeah, those were the years 20, 25, 30 years ago, where I would go and I was fully blown with aspirations, inspiration, discoveries, and so my first instincts were go out there and share, go out there quickly, fast, as soon as possible. Every moment that you stall, some people suffer unnecessarily there in their own, in the domain that they have created themselves for themselves in order to achieve something that exactly the opposite actually is happening. It's taking them through a nightmare, and a torturous reality. And by the time they realize it, they try to better the situation, and then they worsened everything, or their actions just kind of put everything that they have already achieved in jeopardy. And but you live and learn, you learn and live, and then of course if you understand it as such, then it's all a very sweet, non-harming, and beneficial journey with the highlights and indications along the way that's actually being handled for your own sake by the authority in place that doesn't pose any possibility of a contests, racing, betting, challenging, and pretty much trying to take everything away from you in order to install a new formula that will suit of course, the forces that are in play. That happens to be the kind of forces that understood the real name of the game early on and implemented their understanding into learning the lessons, and then from there, just sliding and gliding and flying and whatever it is that their mechanical composition requires in order to lift off the ground and rest casually in midair and have that work for you, and for the sake of that which you're engaged in, and for the sake of your understanding, new or old. So I couldn't help myself. I was there. And then I realized, because there were some encounters where people said, back off, man. This whole idea of I love you, I want to give you everything that I can. All of you people, I love you. I care for you. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm exposing myself. That's why. And then suddenly you hit a reality where you're told to back off. Back off. And then you look at the face expression of people and say, that's not a happy face. And then you realize that it's, as much as you can be a genius in certain territories, in other territories you're a complete moron. I felt like I was a complete moron. To think that I can, even indirectly, change the world, change the demeanor and the universal personality that rules, and whether you intend to or not, to maybe hope that a bit or a part of what you hand to people and make it available to other people to use and to benefit from. It's so maybe a part of who you are as a person, who you are as an entity, will rub on and against their flesh, and then it will just kind of blend into their bloodstream, and then they will actually realize that the flavor has a color, and a color has a flavor, and the sense of touch has a musical note, and the musical note has a touch with a variety of sensors that tells you not only the time and place, it tells you the timing. And when you start learning about timing, you gain independence very quickly. Because if it's I remember when I was taught in playing drums, from single stroke roll double stroke roll, triola, and then suddenly there's a jump into paradiddle, and that paradiddle suddenly introduced me to a hidden syncopation. Well, it's like you know a little bit about syncopation, or you know a little bit about that which you're climbing towards, um, but you don't really know the nature of what it stands for. But then when you tackle it and acquire the expertise to be able to handle it, then you understand its meaning also. So the paradiddle, and up, 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 and then the epitome. So then the magic that comes naturally to you. It came to me. Well, maybe I had somewhat of a background of rhythmical percussionist, recollection, deposits of experience. But still, it doesn't matter much because it can only last that long. It only can allow you that much. It cut you some slack. I mean, just a little bit. And you realize when you started it, it really doesn't matter. You need to break through within accepting the breakthrough at hand already, and you need to establish that the breakthrough of the breakthrough while you break through while you understanding the nature of each item in each position in each location and so much more. It's like it sounds maybe a little kind of confusing, but it's not. So then you understand that rhythm can lead you to a zone of comfort where, and again, you notice that I'm talking about we need to establish a safe haven when it's challenging, over the top, overwhelmingly, when it's resisting and therefore creating doubts and so much more in that sense. And then you realize that there's a slowdown, and then you don't like the idea, and then utilize all the tricks that you have at your disposal to bypass, to stall, to jump over, to hide, to trick, to trying to achieve that north or whatever direction in general that you're supposed to be on and which track it is. And so music lends itself to you, will never deny you access, just like the chi. The chi, if you study Tai Chi, you will learn it not only theoretically, you will learn it as you literally beg and plead with the chi to come. And all these gestures of this and that, it's come and go and push and pull and twist and crunch and snap. And so immediately when you call the chi without calling the chi, which means you just like point, because in the chi there's this very fluent. Whatever energy goes through, it goes through very, very smoothly. So it goes smoothly, nothing stops. And when you do that, you don't even have to do this. And the energy knows that it's called and that it's needed. And the energy will never stop to discuss anything, to say, well, what am I needed for? Why am I needed? It just returns that request, favoring that request, already traveling towards you, towards the center of that gesture that extends, and by extending, calls for an invitation. And then the same attitude, if you follow the same attitude through every stage of understanding, which for the most part with Qi and Tai Chi, and apropos art and energy and strategy and preparations and implementation will be considered also the same, one and the same. So then you understand that it will be the same procedure, that when the energy did come, did appear, did respond, and now you know what am I going to do with it? So you don't have to second guess yourself. You know you're going to do the very same thing. You're going to welcome it. You're going to compress it into this section of your body kind of thing, you know. I think it's the third or fourth chakra. And then you compress it down because you want it to go to the second chakra, which is the most popular chakra, that will give you a wide range of possibilities and abilities to work with it, to benefit with it, from it, to understand it, to adapt to its nature, to adapt some of these findings on the behalf of this encounter. Now this is fantastic. And here in the same token, you're talking about a deadly martial arts. Don't be fooled by the gentleness of the gestures and the movements and all that. It really is methodically going about its way to inflict harm, or more like to prevent something or someone else from inflicting harm on you. So in the midst of all that, if you follow the rules, the suggestions, the leading, and then you realize that you're actually making progress. The things are getting done. The purpose for which you will extend your wishes and your willingness to cope and to become a part of it will yield results all the time, constantly. That means you will never find yourself saying, what the heck, I've been here for that many hours and nothing is happening. I did what I'm supposed to do. I'm waiting for some, like a chess player, like, give me a break, you know, make your move. And then it takes you to the encounter with the outside world. And that's exactly it. In martial arts, you don't always expect one opponent. You see, so if you're ready to fight efficiently and methodically one opponent, and then suddenly there are three, you're doomed, you're gone. You're going to have to desperately go out of your comfort zone in order to get yourself out of it. But then if you got 4 or 5, you're really doomed. You're getting nowhere. You're actually going to surrender because you know better. Why should I get hurt here? And you count your blessings, you lick your wounds, and you learn the lessons. One of the most important aspects of my journey as an artist 20 that many years ago, or close to 30, maybe less, a little less, is that I for feeling such a low sense of sense of inferiority. It was like I'm not as good as them. And it was supported by more than one aspect. It wasn't like I'm imagining this group of people that I'm facing here. I lack so much to stand next to them. And that's just technically speaking. This is not like, of course I can and I will and maybe I will exceed that and I will. But the point is that particular moment is make it or break it. It's a live or die kind of thing. So the only way that I knew how to, that I discovered actually, and that I acted upon it immediately, is to expose and emphasize, realize what it is that I have that supposedly has nothing to do with art, that I'm good at, by way of an attitude, of a state of mind, and that you would never think that if you were to bring that strength and ability into the equation of another medium, that it will work for you. But what if you don't have anything to lose? You don't have anything to lose with. So what I wanted to do is more like I'm going to keep quiet, in a way, saying keeping quiet, meaning that if I'm somewhere or anywhere to be seen, you will not happen to hear my voice. So that means you will hear people talk and discuss and interact and exchange, but you wouldn't hear my voice. Why? Because I was, I am the one who listens. Absolutely listens. Not only listens, but listens. So for me to make sure that at least I won't be kicked out of the possibility of being a part of this group, which I believe there will be like live or die. I had to be a part of a group, even if I was in the lowest of the lowest section level of that group. I still wanted to be in. I was listening, and I would open my eyes wide, showing intent and interest. And people would look at me and they would share even more because they will see a source that comes from something pure and genuine, and therefore a genuine source of human aspect of that kind of straightforward, simple desire to show you things while you're actually interacting. We don't wait for the end to clap our hands and to show appreciation. We show it to you constantly throughout the process in bits and pieces. Listening was the fact, the number one factor that actually allowed me to develop and grow in ways that are untraditional and in ways that are much more efficient and effective than your usual put the time, go to school, do your homework, think, be neat, be that, whatever, which is all important, but it's like all pretty much just the loose ends. And then on top of that, I say, I'm going to listen to you without telling you that I'm going to listen. But I hear myself say to myself, hey, you guys, I'm going to listen to all of you because I have a feeling that I would like very much what it is that I'm going to hear. And even that which I wouldn't like to hear, I would be happy to hear and would like it very much at the end. So I'm listening, and this person says, listen, I see in your work such and such, this and that, and here and there. And I thought you should just kind of rearrange only. So the only thing I hear in my head is rearranging. And it comes from this person. Now I close my eyes and I try to remember who this person is. And I remember that I attended some of his or her group, art shows or musical concerts. And I say, yeah, oh my God, this is a great person. I remember vis-a-vis my photographic memory of the emotional, the spiritual, and the religious, and the social encounters, levels, degrees. So suddenly it adds meaning. He says, rearrange. And I look at it and I say, of course I'm going to listen to him. Not only did he make sense, he has the backings, and I have the recollection of what it is that I encountered, that he created, that I experienced. Enough for me. And then the other person, and she comes to me and she tells me, I notice so much courage in your work. And then, but I just thought that if you were to kind of wait a little longer when you reach the first hill, and and just try to enjoy that, because quickly enough you are going to progress, and it's going to be so fast. You will miss out on so many pleasurable moments, because it's just the nature of the beast. Because you're going to advance, miraculously and disproportionately, like crazy. So the first one said rearrange. The second one said pause, relax, sit down, take a breath in. Look around a little bit. Cliche or not, it doesn't matter. Just kind of do it. Realize where you came from, where you are, and realize the meteoric advance in progress that's just about to going to take place, because obviously you're in a great contender, like compatible. And then I look at he said rearrange. She said pause, and I close my eyes and bring to the equation my photographic memory. And I remember that I attended one of her concerts, and she played the flute like an angel. And those tender, wonderful, beautiful fingers of hers were so mighty and so powerful. And her face expression was just so evenly stretched in a metallic, royal kind of silkish unfoldings. I had to. There was no doubt in my mind that I'm accepting her her suggestion, her advance of uh, extending an offer of something that was a second ago completely hers. So I rearrange, I pause, and then the third person, a small group of people actually, came and said, "We want to tell you that there's a lot of happiness in your work. And it's so evident, and it's something that you don't need to stand and think or contemplate or figure out. It hits you immediately, and it interprets itself in us, in you, when you encounter it, instantly. But if you were to just control the flow of, of the level of its intensity, because even an avalanche of goodness can hurt you, because you don't want to kind of offer so much information, so much creation, so you will kind of bury the viewer, the listener, alive under the weight and the amount of discovery, so to speak. So, not that you have to create less necessarily, but at least keep that option open, and even when you have to do it, you'll be able to do it instantly. So at least consider it. So here, reduce, control, rearrange, pause, reduce. And then I said, of course I'm going to listen to him. He's a big name in the neighborhood of the top-notch creative individuals in the world. And he comes to me and he tells me these wonderful things. Of course I'm going to listen. Why? Because later on, just like these 3 and 30 others that will tell me, because they didn't feel like they told me anything. It's not like they lectured me. They will say a word. They will say a sentence, a half a sentence. They will say 3 words. They will say just a few gestures of syllables. And I said to myself, I am listening. And not only that, thank you for keeping me busy for the next 20, 10, 15, 25, 37, 42 years from now. Thank you. And then the next time you see these people that just suggested or offered something to you that they didn't even realize that they did, but you listened all too well and you implemented all too well. And the following exhibition, the first person will come to you and say, "Oh, I noticed your wonderful rearrangement of all these metaphoric syllables that spells a new language that for some reason agrees with me and doesn't annoy me or bother me. What a magical moment you created here." But he will not come to me and say, "Oh, I saw that you listened to me and you implemented it," because they're not aware. They're only aware that the change that took place, and so fast, really appealed to them, really made them happy, made them feel like, wow. And then the woman that was telling me about the flavors, pausing, and she would come to me and says, "I noticed that you took your time. It shows in your paintings. How intriguing that you appreciating each moment of progress that's taking place. You're appreciating it, and therefore you stay longer with it. Bravo." But she didn't know that because she said something a while ago that she just knows that whatever progress and whatever new things she's experiencing, on behalf of her being a listener and a viewer, and on behalf of me being the actual artist that made it happen, that's divine. And then the third person would come to me and say, control, reduce. He would come and say, oh, I see that you resisted the temptation. Because I saw here that you could have gone so much further with it. It would have pretty much devastated the composition, but you resisted that temptation. Great change in your work. And that wasn't like 10 years later. That was like 3 months later. Because one of the other aspects that I adapted is to show force by creating volume. And you want attention. You want your work to get the right attention, the attention that it deserves. So you can use tricks, any tricks you want, and I call them tricks because they're, I just like to be playful with words now and then. So in that sense, I just create such full body of work that people cannot just like offer an opinion so abruptly and so handily and so generously, because there's just too much. They realize quickly enough there's too much to relate to, and there's too much to address, and so it's like they know better not to get into a territory where they will start. Maybe they'll have something to say, and then they realize there's just too much stock and deposits of information and here that I don't want to make a fool of myself. So in that sense, it's yeah. So in that sense, it's yeah. Okay, even the critique is taking a moment to self-critique because it wants to keep with the tradition of his or her unique, extraordinary ability to critique other people's art or people's art period or art period. So they know better. So then quickly enough you realize that those that you worshipped and still do, I worship a lot of people, and a lot of people don't even know that I do, that I appreciate what they're doing. And how do I appreciate it? It's because I made a point to notice, to pay attention, to listen, to experience, to share, to accept when people lend you a way to interpret in addition to the traditional conservative way, which is nothing wrong with that, of course. And I learned early on that no matter what it is, I will not replace the new with the old. I will always add the new to the old. So that means there's no way that I'm not going to carry on with the way I handle myself in the introductory part of my journey with art, whether it's sitting in front of a drum set or standing in front of a canvas. And I will never find myself, first of all, disrespectful. Secondly, like, where am I? What am I doing? What's happening? But I will keep that a collection of resolutions and allow them to do some work for me, because I'm only human. And if I want to advance, because I don't have enough years anyway, even if I was to be the best in the world, so I need to embrace anything that will expedite the process, and rightfully so, because when you reach the desired level, i.e. stage, you think you're going to be famous, rich, and whatnot, and on top of the world. Big mistake if you think this way. You will be closer to where you need to get, and then the real work begins. So that's like this, when you get to that stage that you so hope that you will be lucky enough one day to be granted the opportunity to experience this particular door, this level that you reached, and here's the door, will open to you, and you will absolutely go confidently through that door, and then you say, what the friggin' heck is going on here? And you would realize, I don't belong here. then you would realize that it sounds familiar. You say, how come it sounds familiar how I feel now that I don't belong here? You remind you reached the top of the world, the highest level. But now you have to accomplish the duration of that level. But all you hear is like, I think I'm crashing. I think I don't belong here. And instinctively you want to hear yourself out. I want out, I want out. But you don't want out before you understand where is the familiar aspect of this feeling comes from. Then of course, quickly enough, it just dawns on you that this happened early days of your enthusiastic period era where you found out that you became or started to paint or became an artist or however you want to call it, when you felt like a low sense of inferiority, self-inferiority, like this terrible feeling which leaves a bad taste. It's so difficult to get rid of it. That's where it comes from. So you feel like you were detached from the height of so close to the crown, dumped into the depths of the stench. Well, maybe it's a harsh word, but anyway, it's fine. That stench is, once you snap out of it, it goes away and it vanishes quickly. But that's something you need to know in order to not to think that, because if you don't know this factor, you think this is going to last forever and you're going to die 7 times before this scent, that stench will disappear or not be a factor in slowing you down. So then, okay, so you got into the summit. You literally, you can actually reach your arm, you can touch the summit. But even if you can touch the summit, you're still not on top of the summit. And even later on, when you reach it and sit on top of the summit, you realize that in order to maintain that level of superiority, that is just you, yourself, and you. It's not like you want to share with the world and therefore indirectly preach the world and maybe be condescending without even meaning to be condescending. Because that's what it does to you. But that's okay. So now you realize, okay, this is where I do implement all the aspects of the suggestions, going back to the roots of square one, to the basics, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. That's just it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Syncopation, paradiddle, para-paradiddle, para-paradiddle, para-para-paradiddle, para-para-paradiddle, para. And it just goes on. And then you feel the power. And then you play the drums for 5 minutes and suddenly you feel so warm and so like beastie, animal, powerful, whatever. And you're amazed by the disproportion of investment of time, such little time, so much results, so much yielding, so much power. So you remember that all this that you're feeling now and that's coming at you like full force is because you achieved and you sealed it after the achievement early on in the process of growth, because you made it your business to know that you're not just like a flyby, you for the long duration. You want to accept all the change that the world has to offer to you, but you want to leave enough room that when the point comes that you will be the one who offers that which is necessary for the world to change and for people to change and benefit, therefore, and benefit there and then benefit and then change, therefore. How lovely, how easy, how simple. But you kind of need someone, you would kind of need someone to guide now and then to come and say, up, 2 degrees to the left. Slow down. Step on it, Then you hear this voice. And then because you know better, you know that you always have to encounter these sudden, surprising aspects of whatever it is that's happening around you with respect, with regard, in a serious fashion, and put the time and grant sufficient opportunity for the other to express themselves, and to be a listener, and to be a listener, and to be a listener. And it inevitably will interpret itself to the aspect of implementation. And therefore, you implement and implement and implement and implement. So, what does this achievement supposedly in growth spell when you reach that level where you know this is it? I'm kind of graduating. I'm kind of actually, in order to be there, you have to graduate first. And this is just the bonus where there's a different kind of graduation. This type of graduation on top and after the graduation is a graduation that you don't need to celebrate when you graduate, because the process of accomplishing that extra layer at the very, very end, at the very, very top, is something that you celebrate as you consume it, as you realize it, as you actualize it, as you put it in place, as you implement it, as you understand it more and 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 more. And then you out there are going to come and say, man, I wish I could buy this painting, but I don't think I can afford it. And then you're going to have to come from the back and you're going to whisper and say, did you check the price? And then you would realize this voice is right. I didn't check the price. And then you look and you say, hey, I can afford that. And then that person will turn to you and say, I think you made a mistake. He said, no, I didn't make a mistake. What does it say? It says $500. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So do you want to pay $500 for it? And the other person says, sold. Anyway. When I say it can't be yours, it can be yours, I'm actually telling you it's already yours. For the sake of that which requires gratitude, because you were one of those who made your voice heard and cared enough to chat with an artist, a musician, a poet, resisting all the temptations of doing all the things that you suggest the other not to, without suggesting, actually. You're just pointing out, and you know, sure enough, we have confidence that the other person not only will do something about that, but will do it because inevitably he or she are going to notice and understand exactly what it is that we extend as an offer, extend as a donation of our goodwill and good nature. And then it's a loop, because those that are going to actualize your suggestion directly or indirectly will cause others to go through and therefore to break through and to achieve just like you did, just like you had to go through. And that's how you keep the world's sanity, or that kind of sanity that guarantees a decent longevity, increasing the chances of survival and lasting through so much evil potential. You know, it's like, and art is. I mean, you take any German villain from the 30s and 40s that were, some of them were busy literally killing hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of individuals with a pistol they had with them, and they were making a list and a count. They were the people that actually could have lunch with you after they already killed 17 people that particular morning. Vicious, the epitome of what evil is all about. But then, if they have to face the master of a certain trade, because they come from a culture that originally was supposed to rave and claim the rights of putting in place a culture that is all about tolerance, all about the genuine aspect of putting something that will move your heart and tear your brain to pieces, because you can't play the games of being complacent in the face of this kind of greatness. So even if they're buried deep and so deep in the hell of their uh, 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 villainous and bloodsheds and the horror of their actions, they will be humbled, they will be scared, they will be intimidated, because it's greater than them, it's stronger than them, and they have no understanding or belief or that indeed their pistol in the pocket that kills so many people can make a difference or can change anything. This, even the pistol, cannot change and cannot take away from the master his or her capability that make this world so magical, that keeps us afloat, that keeps us afloat, that keeps us afloat. And it doesn't matter. It's not like a direct relationship between how good you are or how talented you are to the what these results that you will create yield back to society. It doesn't matter who you are. When you show a genuine will and desire and coping with that desire in place, your level of how talented you are or not means exactly nothing. Exactly nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because you're already committed by stepping into that zone of creation and picked up the pen and wrote this wonderful masterpiece or 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 this sketch that is out of this world. It's like unimaginable. And that sound of melody and harmony that you dragged out of this musical instrument. It's like, who can stand in front of it with a straight face? That's where we guarantee ourselves our own survival and chances of survival by adamantly adapting to a process, creative process, in order to that medium to be actualized by the essence of our engagement and efforts. And simple, yes. Thorough, yes. Decisive, yes. Devoted, yes. Serious, yes. Loving, yes. Selfless, yes. And so much more. The list is long. So what can I add into this? It's just like more of the same. So now if people come to, let's say, ask for advice from me for whatever reason they would have or not, I would say, hey guys, more of the same. I look in your eyes and I see. I don't need to convince you that you are what you already know you are, and what you can be or will become inevitably because you're engaged and because you're devoted and dedicated. It's a no-brainer. Look at you. I look at you. But all I can say, more of the same, more of that which I sense about you. And I wish I would have had someone that can show me a friendly face and that I could have said 20 years ago, and who are you and what exactly are you doing here? And that person will say, well, it's your lucky day because I'm here to give you some news that will make huge difference in your artistic life. And when you go to rush to find me in order to thank me, I will be nowhere to be found. I'll be long gone. But at least I will leave that which will make such a huge difference in your life. And therefore, I know that in the future you're going to hand it over and then you're going to extend that knowledge. And then you will preach about how simple and down to earth this concept is. More power to you, I said. And I'm going to check something before I continue. Yeah, well, that was actually pretty, I don't know what to call it. Pretty what? Okay, good. So first of all, Thursday afternoon, July 6th, year 2023, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Doherty, Francis Ann, and of course, you are their huge group of followers that make it your business, whether you know about it or not, directly or indirectly, to enhance and fortify the concept of public access. And that makes us happy. And that makes us feel confident that indeed our community is strong as it gets, and of course stronger due to the fact that we have a stage where we can express ourselves. And it's like an official step, and it's like our step, it's like our domain. And so taking advantage of it and see how it is that you can connect with LTV here in Waynescott, New York, and I guarantee you might be surprised. Also, I want to promote, of course, the group art shows that we have monthly art shows here. It's been happening actually for the last 26 years, since the early days of Sabina Hindra. There was a wonderful individual, a force to be reckoned with 25, 30 years ago, and she started the art shows, and for the last little over 20 years I've been doing these art shows. So we're full force. This show that's hanging now is titled Roundabout, and the opening is this coming Saturday, July 8th. No, what am I saying? Yeah, July 8th. July 8th, 3 to 7 at LTV Studios, 75 Industrial Road in Waynescott, New York, and it's literally parallel to the runway of East Hampton Airport. You can't miss it. This coming Saturday, July 8th, 3 to 7, and we have Renee Dahl, Steve Rahm, Barbara Maslan, Chris LeCoeur, Setha Lowe, Jody Gambino. We have Ava Radu. She joined us actually last minute, so we will need to add her name. And then, of course, myself, Haim Mizrahi, your humble servant. So I want to wish you a great, what is it? I think we're still celebrating 4th of July, no? It doesn't go away. So I hope you had a great holiday, great week. And make sure you drink enough water, because it's crucial and brutal and whatnot. Do the right thing. And hopefully we'll see you this weekend. But if not, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday here at LTV. It's open, so you can always come and check this art show until July 30th. And next month we're going to continue, of course, and just so many goodies that are available and ongoing here at LTV. And I really thank you for listening and for being a part, an active part, even though you might think you're not, at this reality called LTV. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this afternoon, July 6th, Thursday afternoon, year 2023. Take care and be well and keep safe.